Works cited entries for an annotated bibliography, part 4. In order to make this process a little faster, I took the container page in its entirety, seen here, the works cited page guidelines, which I sometimes call the container page, which is found on my website, Elwood Education, by going through the search bar. I copied and pasted some of the main elements here. This is enough to get us through one citation that doesn't have a source that was published previously in another place. So let's take a look at the entry that I'm going to work on. Notice that the author's name is followed by et al. So let's go back to the main container page. Author is followed by period. That's listed there, but if you go all the way down to the bottom, there's a little extra information here. All authors and editors of a single entry do not need to be listed. You may use the first author's name and then add this, et al., which means and others. According to this citation, there are additional authors, so let's check on this. I could copy and paste the URL into the URL box up here, but when I'm clicking on this, I see that the link is still intact. So I could also right-click and then ask this to open in a new tab. And then you'll see at the top up here, it's going to start to load. Let's take a look at the other items that we need. We need the author, title of the source. I've got them all listed here. So the author's names, let's go back to the article. And let's look for the author's names. The author's names are not listed here. So let's scroll all the way down to the bottom. And they're listed here. So I'm going to highlight them, hold down Control, hit C, and I'm going to put them here. The next thing we need is the title of the source. The title of the source is the name of the article. The name of the article is Smartphone Addiction, so I'm going to hit Control C and put that here. This is way too big, so I will reformat that. So we're going to go to font. I want 11 or something like that. We'll do Calibri, doesn't matter at this point. Now, the next thing we want is the title of the container. Title of the container is Help Guide. I'm not going to copy and paste that because I don't want it to show up big again. And that's small enough. I can just type that in, Help Guide. Other contributors, I don't have any. I don't have a version or a number, so I'm just going to get rid of those items. Then I have publisher. The publisher will be listed at the bottom, so let's go all the way down. The publisher is helpguide.org. So if I hit Control and C, I can come down here and put that next to publisher. Now I get this very strange looking thing here. So another way to present that information here in the publisher line is to right click and then click on Keep Text Only, and it will look like that. So I don't have to deal with this strange looking thing. The next thing we want is the publication date. There is a date here, but it's a date for updating the entire website. The date for the article should be at the top, and it's not. But the essayist did put a date here, so that made me wonder if I could find a date somewhere. So I typed in smartphone addiction by the author's name, just put in the first one, which is Melinda Smith, and sure enough, a date popped up right here, February 14th, 2020. So I'm going to put that here. Now, this date was not part of the original article, so I'm going to surround it with brackets. That's going to tell the reader of my bibliography or the reader of my essay, which I might use this particular entry and this particular article in my paper. This tells the reader of my paper that I didn't find that date in the article. The location, let's go back to the site, the location is going to be the URL. So you just Control-C, copy the URL, and paste it here. Now notice that the URL contains the https://. We'll get rid of that. We don't want that in our entry. Now we have the access date is the last thing we're going to need to do, and that's pretty simple. That's up to us. Okay, let's go back to our citation. We have Melinda Smith, last name first, because we're going to use this last name for alphabetization purposes. We have et al., which means all the rest. What if we wanted to use both of these names in addition to Melinda Smith? You would either use all of the names or you would use just her name. So it would be all of these names without MA or the PhD, we don't need that, or just Melinda Smith. Now, instead of et al. Up here, I'm going to get rid of this. I will add Lawrence, Robinson, and Jean Segal, and one period. If there were only two names, the word and would be after Smith, comma, Melinda. The essayist chose to use et al., so let's honor that and get rid of this. The name of the article is Smartphone Addiction. It's right here. Notice the period is inside the quotation mark. Notice there's opening and closing quotation marks. Title of source, Smartphone Addiction. On my document, that is correct. Okay, the title of the container is Help Guide. So I'm going to get rid of .org. The next thing we have is the publisher is helpguide.org. So I could put that there. But if the publisher and the container are pretty much the same thing, we don't need to include that, so I'm not going to. Then we have the publication date, which is February 14th, 2020. I'm going to put brackets around this, and that will be followed by a comma. The next thing on my list is a location, which looks like it's rendered correctly here, but we have an underline. So I'm going to click on Remove Link so that this is now not linked and it is also not underlined. Up here, I need to put some of the information from here up here because we have to fill every single line. So www.helpguide. I don't know that I can get org and the slash. Oh, I can. Okay, I doubt I'll get articles and the slash. Oh my goodness, I can. And addictions. Nope, that won't fit. Okay, so I got a lot more up there than I thought I would. So I'm going to delete everything here that didn't fit up on that line. And then we have a period here. Let's take a look at the sample down here. After the location, I do have a period. The next thing I have is the access date, which is right here, the sample. So access 26 March, I need an abbreviation here. And then the year, so I'm going to hit delete twice and bounce 220 up and get rid of the extra rendering of the date. And there you have it.